episode. I'm your host, Ken Cruz, broadcasting from Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us today. We have another action-packed episode for you all, but before we dive into our main topics, I can't forget to introduce our sports panel today with, it's pretty much a Father's Day panel with fathers and future fathers. First, we have from Toronto, Canada, Albert Sesse.
How's it going, Ken? Welcome, sports fans, again. Ready to talk some sports. We're in the thick of it with baseball, football, and then basketball just around the corner. Let's do this.
I hope you're ready to talk because we're talking all of those. And next we have from Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez.
What up, Ken? What up, fellas? Me and Al are going to be the new fathers soon in the future. So maybe after the episode, let's have a discussion on best practices.
Yeah, it'll be EBC Fathers International. That'll be a different show. And then last but not least, we have our resident father of two already from Quezon City, Philippines, Ben Bernaldez.
What's up, Ken? What's up, everyone? And welcome to the show. It's exciting topics to discuss today. NBA season, preseason has started. Chicago Bulls is looking great lineup. I'm looking forward for more.
Bulls are back? Question mark. Thanks for joining me this week, guys. And of course, just as a reminder to everyone, we're by no means experts, but rather a group of friends or fathers who are obsessed with the sports world. Before we begin with our discussion, we have a few updates to share with you from all over the sports world. First, we have an update regarding NBA players and the COVID-19 vaccine. By Albert. Albert?
Hey, Ken. So, according to the league, 95% of all NBA players are fully vaccinated, which is actually a higher rate than even frontline healthcare workers. But there is still a small portion of the league who still strongly refuse and are arguing the right not to be vaccinated. The league front office has pushed for mandatory vaccinations for its players, but the Players Association has refused to budge on any sort of vaccine mandate. As it stands, unvaccinated players will face more testing and will be asked to sit in separate areas in team meetings, during team meals, in locker rooms, and on the planes and buses. Notable players such as Brooklyn's Nets Kyrie Irving and Washington Wizards Bradley Beal are just some of those who choose not to be vaccinated, citing personal reasons as their basis for their decision. Irving's decision could actually prevent him from playing in home games this season due to a public health order in New York that requires people to be fully vaccinated to be allowed indoors for entertainment. Irving, however, has been granted permission to practice in the Nets facility as it has been deemed a private office building. Now, what's interesting is the Athletic's Shams Charania reported that unvaccinated NBA players will actually face fines and even jail time if they've been found to violate quarantine restrictions while up here in Toronto. Under the Canada Quarantine Act, breaking the quarantine could actually lead up to 6 months in prison or fines up to $750,000. Unvaxxed players are only allowed to leave the hotel for team activities. Along with this, under the NBA's health and safety protocols, players must pass a PCR test before even traveling to Toronto, regardless of vaccination status. As the opening tip of the 2021-22 season draws closer, it will be interesting to monitor the situation between the players and public health. Back to you, Ken.
Appreciate it, Albert. Next, we have a very odd but interesting NBA news topic regarding insurance fraud. EJ's got the scoop.
Yeah, man, some pretty wild news that emerged this week regarding a group of NBA players or former NBA players who scammed the NBA's benefit plan worth almost $4 million in fraudulent claims from 2017 up till 2020. There were 18 players that were accused of creating false insurance claims related to medical and dental procedures that never happened. 15 of them were arrested yesterday. And from the $4 million worth of claims, this group of players allegedly received around $2.5 million worth in proceeds. Now, some of the players included in this scandal include names such as Sebastian Telfair, former Celtics Glenn, aka Big Baby Davis, and Tony Allen, and even his wife, and former Lakers Shannon Brown. The suspected mastermind who led in creating these false claims for these players was the Terrence Williams, who was drafted by the back then New Jersey Nets, in the 2009 NBA draft. Now, the crazy part of this story was that while these false claims were being investigated, some of the claims looked off because they weren't even on letterheads. There was unusual formatting, including grammatical errors and typos, and in one instance, a misspelling in one of the patient's names. Now, the investigation, according to the FBI, is still ongoing, but the penalty of these accusations of committing health fraud and wire fraud can potentially reach a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. Back to you, Ken.
Wild stuff. I just don't understand, but it is what it is. EJ, thank you so much. Next, a soccer legend, Landon Donovan, is memorialized as the LA Galaxy takes on their crosstown rival LAFC at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. Alan and Eva of our EBC Los Angeles Bureau at the scene with the report.
Before the matchup today between the LA Galaxy and LAFC,
Galaxy great Landon Donovan was honored with his very own statue at Legends Plaza here at Dignity Health Sports Park.
Every time I showed up to the stadium, you guys made me feel accepted, wanted, desired to be out there on the field, and you pushed me. And I love seeing the league what it is today, but you guys were all here from the beginning, and I appreciate you guys.
You just kind of remember his games, the way he used to play. He was always a sharpshooter. He was always looking for a perfect opportunity, and he always got it.
He was the best number one. He was the Captain America. That's how we describe him. He always been good. I think he's the best player we got. Too bad he's not playing anymore.
Not only is Landon Donovan a LA Galaxy legend, but also a USA legend, providing many memories for us, for the US and LA Galaxy itself. I mean, he's a legend, and we can't really, I can't really explain how much he's done for us in the community. He was raised in the same city as me in Ontario, and I'm very grateful that we had someone like him to provide us many memories.
Donovan, along with a crowd of over 25,000, settled in for the match between the crosstown rivals. At the 11th minute mark of the first half, it was LAFC who was on the board first when Edward Atuesta's corner kick connected with teammate Mamadou Fala, who put the ball in with a header. But in the 19th minute, Vasquez received the ball just below the center circle and delivered a beautiful pass to a cutting Grancier, who blew past LAFC's goalkeeper for a relatively clear shot into the net. Both teams continued to be aggressive for the rest of the match, but ultimately neither could break the stalemate. The game ended in a draw.
I think if Galaxy plays the way they play today, but keep their head a little bit cooler and just play more like a team, I feel like the offense especially are trying to do too much on their own. If they just focus on playing together and getting to the back of the net, then they'll end up winning most of the remaining games.
I'm simplistic when it comes to that, and to get more in the win column just means like she said, offense, keeping a cool head, keeping it together, and then just doing the work to get the ball in the back of the net. Put ball in the back of the net, the defense does their job in keeping the other team from scoring. Then it just means it comes down to just which team is actually better.
Yeah, we both got pretty upset about the tie, because you never want to see like a Clasico like this end in a tie. You always want your team to win, And so, it kind of sucked, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, if it was like a championship game and they had to go to overtime or like PKs, I think it would have been more intense, more fun to watch. But it's part of the game.
despite Donovan's urging to beat LAFC, the LA Galaxy will have to settle for the tie.
But regardless of the outcome, this rivalry match still delivered the competitive energy that soccer fans crave.
In Carson, California, Eva and Allen, EBC Sports International, we live in interesting times.
Thanks, Alan and Eva. And lastly, we have Ben with updates on Filipino teen weightlifter Rose Jean Ramos. Ben?
After Heidelin Diaz won the first gold ever in the Olympics for the Philippines, a new talent is rising for the Philippines. 16-year-old Rose Jean Ramos of Zamboanga won 2 gold medals and a silver in the 45-kilogram division of the 2021 International Weightlifting Federation Youth World Championship in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Ramos ruled in snatch and total by lifting 67 and 147 kilograms respectively, while settling for the silver in clean and jerk with 80 in the women's 45 kilograms division. The 16-year-old earlier lifted 63 and 65 in snatch before turning to a heavier weight on her final attempt. In the clean and jerk, the Zamboanga native first lifted 78, then followed it up with 80 before failing to lift 82 kilograms on her third attempt. But the 2 performances were enough for the gold in total. Poland's Olivia Desgaja came in silver in total with 143, while Indonesia's Najia Koronisha finished bronze with 142. Ramos' feat came a day after Jeanette Hipolito bagged 1 bronze medal in the women's 48 kilograms division. Hipolito lifted 52 kilograms on her third attempt in snatch behind Turkey's Izgi Kilic and Colombia's Veles Estrada. She finished 5th, both in clean and jerk, and total of 114. That's it for me, Ken.
Appreciate it, Ben. And that's it for this week's sports news. After the break, we'll dive right into our topics, starting with baseball. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
Ang sigla pag nagkwentuhan ang sigaw ng Pinoy Nation. Information, education. Ating salookin, ipakita natin ang nagsagot sa problema natin. Ano sa palagay nyo? Ano sa palagay nyo? Ano sa palagay nyo?
Ano sa palagay nyo? Abangan! Simula October 18, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Mapapanood sa Net25 TV, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. Mapapakinggan din sa DZEC 1062 at Eagle FM 95.5.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. It's that magical time of the year when the NFL is in full force, the NBA is about to start, and baseball is starting its playoffs. The wild card games already took place, and boy, they did not disappoint. But this past Tuesday, the most storied rivalry in sports, the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox played their 8th wild card game against each other. Boston dominated the game and won in a 6-2 fashion, but the AL wildcard game did set a viewership record of 7.69 million on ESPN. Albert, thoughts on this game? Can the Red Sox use this as a bouncing pad to make a deep playoff run?
Yeah, before that, talking about the wild card, I just to give a special shout out to my Blue Jays. You know, they didn't make it. They were a team. Listen, they were a team with 90 wins, and it was the first time since 1978 that 4 teams in the division with 90 wins were finished the season. I mean, it's unfortunate that they couldn't make it. But again, going back to the Red Sox and the Yankees, such a storied franchise rivalry between the two. My thoughts is that, you know, Garrett Cole, he hasn't been the Garrett Cole that he was at the start of the season. There are some staggering stats that after the crackdown of the sticky substances that pitchers were using, his ERA actually rose quite significantly and actually ended up at around 3.23 to finish off the year. He actually also struggled quite heavily in Fenway, where he actually pitched a dreadful 6.19 ERA with 11 runs allowed, in 3 starts, and 8 home runs with that. So although he was a Cy Young candidate, I don't know if it was the right decision for Boone to start Garrett Cole, because he did get lit up within the first couple of innings. And you know what? The Yankees unfortunately couldn't bounce back after that. As for the Red Sox, I think they're going to have a hard time with the Rays. The Rays, of course, they are defending American League champs, and their manager Kevin Cash just does things so unorthodox. He's so unconventional. It's going to be tough for the Rays tough for the Red Sox, to overcome the Rays, given their success in recent history.
Good points, and I think just with how the Yankees performed, I mean, I feel like they at least, at the very minimum, have to fire that third base coach for giving the green light to Aaron Judge to run to home, and obviously, I mean, dude's he's one of the tallest guys in the league, but he's also one of the slowest guys in the league. I don't know what he was thinking. That probably cost him the game. That was such energy drainer, motivation drainer. But anyways, this past Wednesday, the other wild card game, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who had the best ever record for a wild card team at 106 wins and 56 losses, faced off against the 90-72 St. Louis Cardinals. I just can't believe the Dodgers had to have a win or lose, win or go home game after 106 wins. Just crazy. Beside the point. Anyways, the game was tied all the way with LA finishing in the most romantic of fashions with a walk-off home run from Chris Taylor at the bottom of the 9th. EJ, what do you think of this game? Can the Dodgers repeat the magical run to a World Series championship from last year? I know those are both different questions. You can start off with the game and then go off with that second question.
Well, first, I'm going to start by saying that I'm putting an asterisk on the World Series win of the Dodgers from last year. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. The regular season was tremendously shortened from the normal 162 games to just 60 games because of COVID. 60 regular season games, dude. That's just over 35% of a normal season. So with that, there's so much that can happen throughout a season. I can't give them full credit for that World Series win. Now, with that being said, with the Dodgers beating the Cardinals in the NL wildcard game, I'm personally rooting for them to win it all this year, man. Seeing Max Scherzer on the mound, oh my gosh, in that game brought back so many memories of him being in the Nationals uniform. Man, it still saddens me that the Nationals decided to blow it all up, and that resulted in Trey Turner and Max Scherzer in LA. Two of my favorite players, two of my favorite former Nationals. Man, still sad. But I mean, with 106 wins, as you mentioned, this year, and for them to play in a wild card game, you're right, is completely absurd. But that just shows how much talent they have right now, and along with the rest of the league, right? But it was an awesome sight after the game. With that mini reunion with Scherzer, Turner, and Juan Soto off to the side.
The Soto sighting was hilarious. I mean, exactly. I feel like he should show up at every Dodger game this playoffs, just because. I mean, if the MLB players are very superstitious, and if he could be the rallying cry, the winning reason, then absolutely. I'll pay for your ticket, Soto, for all the games. I'm just kidding.
Right, man. I mean, seeing Juan Soto there, and he was genuinely happy seeing his former teammates win that game and celebrated with them afterward. It's got to be that Nationals magic from the World Series team now. So yeah, I mean, I'm saying if Juan Soto is cheering them on, and the Nationals obviously nowhere close to being a World Series contender anytime soon. Man, I'll be rooting for the Dodgers the rest of the way.
I mean, it's really all about who is the hottest at this time, right? I mean, that's how the Washington Nationals won that one year, right? I mean, the Dodgers were favored to beat them in that series, but
100%.
No one was stopping that freight train. And I mean, I think it's the same thing right now, right? I mean, that's why the series going into the next topic it's insane. The Dodgers Giants have never faced each other in the playoffs, which doesn't make any sense. And they're a storied rivalry. I believe it's a 132-year rivalry. They're both New York teams that moved out to California, and now they're facing each other right now. Live score is 2-0 Giants. Breaking my heart, but continue with the show. The division series is underway, and the games are delivering as promised. 8 teams are left, with the matchups being Tampa Bay Rays versus Boston Red Sox, as mentioned earlier, Chicago White Sox versus Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves versus Milwaukee Brewers, and as I mentioned, San Francisco Giants versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ben, which of these matchups intrigues you the most?
I would say the Giants versus Dodgers. This is the first time in history that the LA Dodgers and San Francisco Giants will meet in a postseason series. The Dodgers beat the St. Louis Cardinals in the NL wildcard game on Wednesday, setting up a National League Division Series matchup between these two historical rivals. And I think the baseball fans wants this also. The Giants won 107 games this season, whereas the Dodgers won 106. I think this will be an interesting matchup, and of course, the Dodgers are pressured. They want to have a repeat, and the San Francisco Giants are the underdogs in this matchup. Despite having better record and winning season series, now the Giants are, for me, is the underdog in this matchup. I don't think the Giant minds that also, so there's no pressure for them. It's more with the Dodgers. So this is very interesting to see who will win. But as you see that I think currently they're playing right now, and San Francisco Giants is leading by 2. So I think this is interesting for me, an interesting matchup to see in the division series.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And what's very, very difficult is that Clayton Kershaw, Dodgers ace, right? And Max Muncy, which is, one of their go-to hitters, both out for the foreseeable future. And so, I mean, how much will this affect them in the long run or even in the series? We don't know. But, I mean, EJ, you mentioned the Dodgers as you're pulling for them. But which 2 teams do you think will eventually meet in the World Series?
Well, obviously, I can't not choose the Dodgers, right, out of the NL. But for the AL side, I'm gonna go with the Rays coming back again as the champions on the AL side. So I want to see a matchup between the Tampa Bay Rays and the LA Dodgers
after a full season. Great call, Albert. You just heard EJ, Dodgers, Rays. Who do you have winning it all this year?
As much as I want to say the Dodgers, actually, I do think the Dodgers are going to win. But coming out of the AL, as much as I want to see the Rays, I actually want to see a matchup or a rematch of the Astros and the Dodgers, because
that'll be juicy.
The drama behind that will be absolutely insane. We all know that the cheating Astros actually prevented the Dodgers from winning that first time. So I think the viewership, the drama, all the stories around that would be amazing. But winning it all, I think the Dodgers, Ken, you talked about the injuries to Muncy and Kershaw, huge losses. But they supplemented that with Scherzer and Turner, which is also equally as significant. It was tough seeing, Scherzer even coming out of the game when Dave Roberts came up to the mound. He was sort of like squeezing the ball. It's like, nope, I'm staying. Let me get through this. But,
high five too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just the intensity of Max Scherzer. I think the team can sort of rally behind that. And I see them winning, hopefully against the Astros, because that would be juicy.
100%, dude. That'll be so juicy. But I the reason why I'm not choosing the Astros, I don't want them finding any success anymore, especially after that.
That's what the thing is. Like, I believe in the Dodgers so much, but I just don't know about how. I just feel like Houston's gonna find a way to underhandedly win, and I'm just gonna be so sour. But I would love for Houston Astros to finally be at LA with the fans there, can you imagine the amount of like hate in a playoff game? Oh, World Series game. Oh, that would be so delicious. They would probably bring a train in and do that whole train noise thing that, that Houston does. But,
the amount of garbage cans that will be brought to the arena would be insane.
Horrible. And I was just mentioning right before, lastly, imagine if Trevor Bauer still played and didn't get suspended. I mean, that would be an amazing. Like, can you imagine like the power of the pitching? But I mean, like then again, I don't know if we would have went for Mad Max if Trevor Bauer would have played the season. But that's the whole separate issue. Now let's dive quickly into the NBA with the season just around the corner and preseason games underway, as mentioned. Let's make some extremely early predictions on who will win the NBA individuals season hardware at the end of the 2021-2022 season. So let's start off with the Rookie of the Year. Who do you have winning it, Ben? And why is it the half Filipino Jalen Green? It's getting
100%.
Yeah, for me, seeing Jalen Green's really NBA ready. You see the preseason game, going toe-to-toe with Kyle Kuzma, really kind of dominating his opponents. And I want to see Jalen Green in the Rookie of the Year honors this year. And for me, there's no other rookies out there that are NBA ready compared to Jalen Green. You see how he plays. It's like he played like 2 years in the NBA already. It's not a typical rookie player that we see in the NBA. So for me, Jalen Green, I would love for him to win the Rookie of the Year award.
Great call. And I feel like Cade's gonna be close. I think he's gonna have maybe a slow start, but maybe like Anthony Edwards have a humongous second half of the season. Now let's go into most improved player, Albert.
I'm going to go with Michael Porter Jr. Reason being is, Jamal Murray is out for the unforeseeable future due to his ACL injury. And it leaves the stage for Michael Porter Jr. to, gel more with Jokic. They locked up Aaron Gordon for a long contract. So my pick is with Michael Porter Jr. He's going to have a good start to the season and hopefully will translate to the end of the year.
My pick is Shai
Gilgeous.
SAG.
SGA,
man. It's Shai Gilgeous, man. That is such a hard name to say, but that's my pick. But great pick on that. Defensive Player of the Year, EJ.
I think Drew Holiday finally gets the respect that he deserves, especially after that NBA Finals, showing how much of
and Olympics
impact he makes. Exactly, how much of an impact he makes on the team. I think he deserves high recognition and should be up there for Defensive Player of the Year, and I think they give it to him.
Great call. And then let's stick with you, Coach of the Year for 2022.
Yeah. So Coach of the Year, if for some reason the Brooklyn Nets are still able to win the first seed or have the first seed in the East, I'm thinking that Steve Nash would win Coach of the Year, especially with having to deal with this Kyrie drama already as early as now in the season.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not bald yet. I mean, I would be pulling out my hair if I was a coach.
Right.
Let's go with Sixth Man of the Year, Ben. And why is it half Filipino? I was getting quarter Filipino. Jordan Clarkson again.
Well, I think that's the obvious option for me, and I have no other player to choose for the Sixth Man of the Year. With that choice, I think it's the best choice for everyone. I'm sure you all guys would agree.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like it's just like how Lou Williams is like it's just an instant bucket, right? When he was getting his Sixth Man, and then quickly, last but not least, the most important award, the MVP. Who's winning it next season? Albert.
Kevin Durant, full stop, period. Healthy KD is going to be MVP.
Great. Mr. Captain America, cut fresh off of gold, ready to prove it all, guys. Awesome takes. Now we're going to take a quick break. NFL talk right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Brought Broadcast journalist Weng de la Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Weng de la Fuente sa
At itong balitalakayan, we live in interesting times.
Welcome back, everyone. This is EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Ken Cruz. NFL is in full swing, and we're already in Week 5. But before we talk about this week's predictions, let's chat about what happened last week in football. EJ, the headliner of the week was Tom Brady's return to New England to face his old coach, Bill Belichick. Did the game live up to the hype?
Oh man, did it? I really think it did, and surprisingly, I think the Patriots did really, really well. Like, I think Belichick prepared very well against Tom Brady. It seemed to me like they had Tom Brady under wraps. Like, the guy was not doing anything, and I think it was lucky that the Buccaneers were able to pull out that 1917 victory because of a missed field goal that hit the upright. It's right there. The distance was good. the distance was good. Hit and literally inches away from victory against Tom Brady. And to me, if Belichick was able to win that game against Tom Brady, he would hold it over his head, just like many other things. I know they're still sour about that breakup, but the hype was there. Mac Jones looked great, and I think he looked a lot more poised than Tom Brady did in the early parts of the game. He even got them to a chance of winning that game in that final drive. Again, just came up a little bit short after that doinker of a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it wasn't raining, that might have probably won.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a tough day for Tom Brady. I don't know if he was like nervous or whatever it was, but maybe you're right. I think Bill probably game planned against his old quarterback, the best that he could, and that's essentially what Bill does best, right? Now, Albert, the NFC West top two teams went head to head in LA as the Rams hosted the Cardinals. Kyler Murray had his way with LA's defense, and Arizona pulled off a 34-24 upset over the then number one Rams. Now, what was the biggest factor? Was it the Rams being overrated and not having a good defense and sloppy offense, or are the Cardinals actually legit?
I think it's a little bit of both. Kyler Murray is doing some crazy things in his third year, and it's showing and it's reflecting in his team's success, being the only team that's still undefeated in the NFL, right? He threw for 268 yards and even ran for 39. And one thing that they did was capitalize on LA's turnovers. They had 2 turnovers in the first half, and they had scoring touchdowns in both of them. And I think the Rams are actually showing some kinks in their armor, even though they beat my Seahawks in the Week 5 matchup just on Thursday. They looked beatable. They had some mistakes. Mind you, Robert Woods looked absolutely insane, just catching things left and right. Again, I'm going to mention the Legion of Broom, no longer the Legion of Doom. And Aaron Donald is still going to be doing Aaron Donald things. So I think although the Rams, they were heavily favored to be a front runner for the Super Bowl, I feel like they're coming sort of down to earth. And I think the Cardinals are for sure a legit contender coming out of the NFC West.
Good point. Now, speaking of which, speaking of Cardinals, after last week's performance, the NFL has them number 1 in the current power rankings. The rest of the top 10 are as follows: 2 Buccaneers, 3 Bills, 4 Packers, 5 Ravens, 6 Cowboys, 7 Chargers, 8 Chiefs, 9 Rams, and then 10 Browns. Ben, is this list accurate?
There are some discrepancies on my list now, but the Cardinals, they have earned the right to be in the top spot. They dominated the Rams on the road, and Kyler Murray is in the MVP conversation. And of course, my number 2, the Bucks, my Buccaneers. Well, it wasn't easy for them, for the New England Patriots when they faced them, but they showed that they can win games even if Tom Brady isn't on top of his game during that game. So 1, 2, 3, I would put LA Rams on that top 3. No, they put so much into the Tampa Bay game, and I felt so bad with that loss, but I gave it to the LA Rams for dominating the Buccaneers in that game. But unfortunately, they lost the Cardinals. So 1, 2, 3 Cardinals, the Bucks, and then Rams on 3rd. The Buffalo Bills on 4th. The Browns on 5th, and then the Chargers, followed by Chargers. No, they beat up the Raiders on Monday night, and followed by the Cowboys, and surprisingly, the Chiefs are on a slow start this season, and I hope they make some changes and really be a contention again. But so far for the top 10, most of my teams that are, for me, are doing well are on the top 10 list. It's just there's a difference between the top 3. So I would definitely go with the Cardinals, Bucks on the 2nd, and the Rams on 3rd spot.
Good points. Thanks for the kind words on the Rams, and you're pretty high on the Browns, surprisingly. And Chiefs, I think they deserve to be in the bottom of the top 10, because I mean they're averaging like 31 point something points per game allowed in the NFL, which is the worst in the league, and that's really disappointing for Patrick Mahomes led.
Their defense is their issue. I think their defense is their issue.
I mean that's the thing, right? I mean they need better defense, and maybe they can sign someone on for a discount with a Patrick Price, maybe. Just kidding. Albert, who's not on this top 10 that should be?
It pains me to say this, but I'm going to have to say the 49ers. I think they were ranked 11 on this list.
Yes.
Another NFC West team. Their game against the Seahawks, no Jimmy Garoppolo, and we saw our first look at Trey Lance and how scary this guy can be. He's a rookie, but he was already, showing his crazy athleticism, his playmaking. They're a team that, if they show out against the Cardinals and they beat the undefeated Cardinals, then they're going to shoot up that top 10 ranking, and I'm going to see them in that top half, because I think the 49ers are, with Trey Lance now under center, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people here.
Good take. And then EJ, who is in the top 10 that doesn't deserve to be there?
I mean, I think you can make an argument with the Browns. I think they, out of the ones on the list, I think the Browns are obviously like just interchangeable with 2 other teams, and that includes the Carolina Panthers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr has looked phenomenal with the Raiders this year. And they have been bursting some bubbles in terms of their expectancy of being successful this year. So I think that they make an argument of being 10 over there. And like Ben mentioned, I think everybody else on the list, aside from the Browns, deserve to be on there. Justin Herbert over there with the LA Chargers. Man, the dude looks incredible. We played him week 1. The Washington football team played him week 1, and the dude looked like a veteran, man. I mean, last year he obviously won Offensive Player of the Year, and deservedly so. The guy looks like he's going to be a really great talent, and he's been picking apart defenses so far this season. So I think LA Chargers and the LA Rams deserve to be higher on the top 10 list.
I mean, it's a great time to be an LA fan. Let's just say that. Now, Albert, I mean, let's talk week 5. I mean, Albert, my question to you was which matchup is must watch, but I mean, I'm sure you watched yesterday's. It's technically a week 5 game. The Rams versus the Seahawks. I know you mentioned a little bit about the game, but like we talked a bit off air. It looks like Russell Wilson might be out for at least 4 weeks with a potential surgery on that middle finger that Aaron Donald chopped off almost. You know, what are your thoughts on your Seahawks moving forward with Geno Smith?
It's going to be a tough rest of the year for sure, because you know, with torn ligaments in your middle finger, it's the last finger that touches the football when you throw it. So even post surgery, the recovery is going to be huge. So it looks like Geno is going to be our QB for the unforeseeable future. I remember hearing a joke that Aaron Donald is probably the person that's closest to Russell Wilson, given the amount of times he hits him, aside from his wife Sierra. So it had to be Aaron Donald, whose helmet or his hand sort of got in the way, and Russell, unfortunately, it looked bad. I'm sure they showed some stills during the game, and it sort of was just hanging there. They tried to tape it as much as they could, but you know what? Again, if it's that last finger that touches the football, you can't really get much rotation on it, and then a whole slew of things happens after that. So unfortunately, I don't want to say it's a wash year for my Seahawks, but it's not looking great.
I mean, Geno looked great yesterday against the Rams. I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Like, a defense prepares for Russell Wilson, and they get Geno Smith, who's sat how many years? That's tough for any defense to just switch mid-game on. But you know, if who was your receiver that tripped? If he didn't trip and then that forced the interception, it might have been a different game. But you know,
I mean, we had a chance, but that's all we could ask for, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are going to be low on Geno, but I mean, based on what I saw yesterday, I think there's, I mean, well, then again, the defense is a whole different issue. So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad the Seahawks aren't great, but at the same time, too, I wish you guys the best. EJ, now let's talk as you love to. Your Washington football team. Like, what are your chances that your team beats Winston Saints?
I think our chances are pretty high. If I'm not mistaken, the New York Giants defeated the Saints. I think week 2 or 3. I think probably week 3. The week after we beat the New York Giants in week 2. So if they're able to beat them, I'm pretty sure that our Washington football team can do it, man. Terry McLaurin is one of the best receivers out there in the NFL, undoubtedly so. And Taylor Heineke has looked phenomenal, man. I mean, the guy brings that sort of edge to the game, and he makes it exciting to watch. After week 1 and Ryan Fitzpatrick going down, a lot of us didn't worry because we knew who was coming off the bench. And a lot of people were arguing that this guy could be a starting quarterback. The only problem is that he has been through a lot of injuries. And that's the only thing that may be a hindrance for us winning on Sunday is if Taylor Heineke does get hurt, then our shot's pretty much down the drain. But if Taylor Heineke and Terry McLaurin are healthy, even without Logan Thomas out there in the tight end spot, I still think we have a really good shot to beat the Saints this coming Sunday.
Agree. Heineke is impressed so far. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, Ben, I mean, there's a big rookie quarterback class. Which quarterback has impressed you the most so far?
Mac Jones, Ken. But in the top 10 rookie for so far, and the only quarterback in the top 10 is Mac Jones. No, he has been phenomenal in the Patriots, and he's really a perfect fit for the New England system. He's a rhythm and timing passer, and he is doing really well so far. And you know, in their last game with the Bucs, you know, Tom Brady wasn't playing well, and Mac Jones has done a much better job taking care of the football than his fellow rookie starter in Jacksonville in New York. And he's completing passes at a much higher rate. So Mac Jones, for me, is the number 1 QB in all rookies. And Jared, he's also actually the number 1 in all the QBs right now. I don't see, even if you look at the top 10 rookies in the NFL right now, and he's the only quarterback in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean that's a great call. I mean it's just tough. Close this out. It's tough as you can see. No matter how good you are in college, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, if your franchise that picks you up is boo boo and can't protect you and doesn't prepare your game plan well, then I'm sorry, like you're gonna have a bad time. I mean, like it's very very apparent with Jacksonville and with the Jets, as Ben mentioned. It's just really sad to see these guys that really flourish in college to just be struggling with these franchises. But they still have time and they're still young. So amazing takes, everyone. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll tackle our last topic, and we'll of course have our question of the week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Saturday night is primetime boxing with two of the world's best heavyweights going for the trilogy, Wilder versus Fury 3. Now, our resident boxing expert, Ben, what do you think and who do you think is going to win this third bout between the two?
Yes, all eyes for boxing this coming weekend. The Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3 saga is finally going to end, and we'll see if Deontay Wilder be able to get that belt and have a revenge. And it's an interesting fight between these two. In the last time that we saw them, we thought Wilder is going to win that match. But Fury, from having 2 knockdowns in the early rounds, rose from that knockdown and beat Wilder in the last round. And we see how he was, rising from what happened throughout the years. That's why he's the Gypsy King, and he outboxed Wilder in their first meeting. But this, I think, again, we'll see Fury winning again in this bout. I think he has a pretty much of a grasp of how Wilder will fight him this coming weekend.
Good call. And like Tyson Fury is literally the heaviest of the heavyweights, and he's still like the best, but he's the best boxer of the heavyweights. But that doesn't mean that Wilder is a nobody and that he can't box. But I mean, one savage hit from Wilder can take a man out. Now, EJ, how can Wilder pull off the upset this Saturday?
Yeah, man, you just mentioned it. So, well, Fury won last bout, obviously, but there's a couple things to note. You said he's one of the biggest fighters, and he just put on an extra 20 pounds since the last fight. So now he weighs 300. The guy, what's it called? Fury is highly skilled. But at the end of the day, Fury didn't really want to have this third fight against Wilder. So Wilder is the hungry guy. He's the one looking for revenge, especially after that last loss. And he, as you mentioned, has the punching power to be able to tilt the favor onto his side. So for me, both of these guys, very flamboyant, very show-offy, arrogant, whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a guy who always roots for the underdog. And in my opinion, I think Wilder is the underdog, especially after that last fight. So for an opponent who's looking to taste that feeling of victory, I'm going to be siding with Wilder for this fight this coming Sunday.
Chances on Wilder coming out with gear that is over 30 pounds. EJ.
Right? Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, dude. I mean, imagine just having an extra 20 pounds of weight on you. I mean, that weighs you down. But I think he's gonna need it if Fury really did pick up an extra 20 pounds since their last fight. Maybe Fury's out of shape, so maybe Wilder doesn't need that extra 30 pounds on his side. You know. But
I mean, you made an amazing point that Wilder had about over a year and a half to pretty much like have that loss simmer and have all the ridicule that he's had, justifiably so, on social media. I mean, everyone went on him, not for getting TKO'd, but like making up every single excuse. I mentioned how he had that crazy armor thing that he rocked to the ring, that he supposedly had, that supposedly affected his performance. Also, how when he got rocked on the ear, it didn't like mess with his equilibrium. I mean, like, he had every excuse in the book, and he also pulled off. Like, I mean, the reason why they have this fight is because in that initial contract they signed, like, this was something that he could ask for, even though as you guys mentioned, like, he technically didn't have to have. Fury didn't want this fight, so. The hungry guy a lot of times can and will win. So I think this is a lot closer than it looks. Now, Albert, obviously these two are some of the top two in the division. In the heavyweight division, is always one of the highlight divisions because of how heavy the punches are. Now, what are your thoughts about the heavyweight division as a whole? Is this still the premier division in boxing?
When you say heavyweights, it always has a special, special place in boxing fanatics' hearts. It's different seeing, big guys just go at it, albeit with, the proper finesse and what have you. But I feel like, pound for pound wise, boxers such as Canelo Alvarez, up-and-comers like Ryan Garcia, guys who can sort of show that speed, that agility. They also ring in sort of the best pay-per-views as well too. But again, with regards to heavyweights, heavyweight boxing just has a special place and will always, have renounced names like Mike Tyson, Holyfield, and what have you. So I think, it is still the premier weight class, but there are also, pound for pound fighters that are equally as important as well too.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And, Pacquiao just retired and he was far from heavyweight. But I mean, like, Ben, are there any like prospects that are heavyweight size from the Philippines coming up?
Well, we all know that the Philippines doesn't have that middleweight and heavyweight coming from the Philippines. We are most on the lower weights. Going back to, I think this is with the Manny Pacquiao's retirement. I think the resurgence of the heavyweights. I think this is time for the heavyweight to be a top biller in boxing again. And remember when I was young, the most favored boxing fights to be watched by fans is the heavyweight. But when the start of Mayweather in the lower classes, Manny Pacquiao mostly, we've seen the decline of heavyweight fights and their prestige in the ring. But now I think the resurgence of the heavyweight matches, at least this is the time for them to be on the top again.
Great takes, guys. Now, of course, we can't close the show without our question of the week. Now, I'm sure a lot of us have already heard of that earlier this week, Pau Gasol officially announced his retirement and solidifies himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, in honor of this, who is your favorite European NBA player of all time? Let's start off with Albert.
I'm going to start off with a curveball here. He's technically South American, but Manu Ginobili, who popularized the Euro step. So a little bit of a curveball there. A lot of people do think that he's European, but you know what? He implemented a move and made it popular such that you can't watch a basketball game now with someone pulling off the Euro step. So my pick is definitely Manu Ginobili, quote unquote European.
Great call. I mean, I mean, he's definitely a non-American NBA player, one of the best. EJ, European NBA player.
For me personally, it has to be Peja Stojakovic of the Sacramento Kings. The guy was a bullseye shooter, and that's my kind of game, man. He had great poise, and he was I think the leading scorer of the Sacramento Kings during those times. So yeah, man, one of my favorite European players and all-time favorite player ever, Peja Stojakovic.
Sweet shooter, just airballed in the playoffs against LA Lakers, but that's a different story. Ben, who's your favorite European NBA player?
I would go with, of course, aside from being instrumental for the Bulls in the 90s, Tony Kukoc in my top list. And I also want to acknowledge Dirk Nowitzki, of course, one of my favorite player of all time as well. But those two are my favorite European players. What they have given to the game, to their team, what they have showed to us fans is really amazing. And these two are my all-time favorites.
And those guys, if they played and rose today, they would be MVP candidates. Just easy as that. Great takes, guys. Everyone, thanks so much. That's all the time that we have for this episode. On behalf of everyone on our panel, thank you for joining us. As always, be sure to tune in again next week. Make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com, as well as net25.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For ABC Sports International, I'm Ken Cruz. We live in interesting times.